Uh, Hi. Bulumrag, everyone. I'd just like to clarify a number of things before I begin. My fellow student or students, Maurice Carey, unfortunately cannot be here today, largely because I didn't really place a lot of pressure on him to be here. And I also wanted to state it on the outset that I feel very uncomfortable with the way we were sort of told as people getting the awards to get students along, largely because it's kind of awkward having a student say all the good things about you up here, with due respect to the other winners as well. And I guess it falls in line with what was given in the presentation in the morning, in the sense that my culture, it's very uncomfortable to have somebody saying all these great things about you, and indirectly you realize through the power relationship in that. So while I invited Maurice to come, I placed no pressure on him, and unfortunately he can't be here. But at the same time, I also wanted to project this idea within the 3 minutes time frame, so it's very short and just one slide, and that's what I was told. So I apologize if it's not as insightful or in detail. But the idea of this particular presentation, capturing some of the things that I've done in the last couple of years in having to teach ethics and governance, as a generic course, which essentially covers all different students from all the different faculties. And one of the things that I've realized is the notions of family and questioning what is the idea of family in our university. And I realized that this idea of everybody being part of Oceania, everybody being part of the region, situates ourselves in who we are in relationship to each other. And even before we start in the lecture content, it's very powerful to see when students start to realize who they are in the region and also in the university, and the ability of them and what they learn and how they can influence things around where they come from and their own position. So this idea essentially is just pitched around Oceania in learning and teaching before getting into concepts, before getting to the concepts of politics, governance, environmental ethics, all of these different facets. I realized that it's important to contextualize these issues around the concept, the content, and to maintain that connectedness between those groups, between the students. And within the central idea of this particular notion of where we are, who we are, where we come from, I realized that group work is very important, and in having to project that in terms of the learning process, that the students also teach me in terms of the learning process, and also they get to teach each other, but it takes a lot of time. And just as an example about the concept of regionalism and building group works of where each student comes from, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, Samoa, Fiji, and having them pull what they feel are the resources that's important to them, and knowing that they're part of this big family, that we're all connected in one way or the other, and how that reflects on how they discuss. So it's always very fascinating, and this I learned from them, that there's so many things that I think I know, but I don't know. That a lot of the students, once they open up, they get to reflect. And it makes me realize too that the university literally is an embodiment of this ideal of that family, the connected family of the region. And that learning together is very powerful and also very insightful. And sometimes we can't monitor it, sometimes we can't qualify it, sometimes we can't quantify it. But it's there in terms of this group work. And I also realize how it's connected to the graduate attributes of not only Pacific consciousness, but building teamwork, largely because our graduates will become part of a greater team in the region or bigger team to stand for particular issues in the region. So out of it, I've come to the understanding that having to build this idea of family, which of course cuts into the keynote, has always been there. But at times, the way we are told to teach, or the way the expectations of teaching is sort of done in silos and separating students from their connection of ownership in the process and what they also will become part of to own in the region, and ultimately to connect in their sense of belonging and what they can impose. So specifically, always having to teach myself to, most of the times, that this learning process and learning and teaching is centered in this reminding students and them reminding us too that we're all connected within this particular relationship that, in a way, literally, this university is supposed to embody. No.
So our third speaker is Uktal Mehta and Vinay Prasad from Faculty of Science, Technology and Environment.
Hello everyone, thank you. And Vineet is my student, he's postgraduate student now, but before he was continuously worked with me under projects and some other units. So we are going to present about this, my philosophy of teachings, and basically after listening Professor Bisov, we come to know that, okay, this kind of outcomes is only possible because of good relations, trust established between student and teacher, and that's why it's very much pleased to know about all which you present today, Professor Bisov. So I'm going to talk about how this teaching we need to take into inspirations for more innovations and creativity. So as we know, our ultimate goal as being engineers and being to know and create more innovators, and the students, those who should have more problem solving skill and critical thinking. So I believe that education is the process of way of thinking. So we should try to not only embed just knowledge and the problem to solve as theoretically, but they should also know how they can solve the real issues practically. So problem solving skill is very important. So at the early time when they come to second level of second years, we should try to give something which they will take it as a problem solving. So don't give any kind of, what I believe, so don't give some kind of problem which has direct solutions, but some open problems through projects or through laboratory exercise. That requires a lot of more thinkings and putting more techniques into it. So by the time when they come to the second year to third year, some of them will start thinking